officially ready for some reason. I hope you guys got enough sleep. Maybe. Okay, thank you for coming to my presentation today on teaching with nonverbal communication. Today we're going to go over a few things: what nonverbal communication is, why it is important to teaching, and how we use it at Watersafe. So firstly, what is nonverbal communication? It's a transfer of ideas, often without words being spoken. It could be instinctive or subconscious, but you could learn to control it. Some examples are the way your body moves, how much eye contact you make, your facial expressions, and the space you give between you and another person. So we're going to have two focuses of today. We're going to go into visual nonverbal communication and also touch-based nonverbal communication. So visual nonverbal communication is what you show to your student or what they see. We're going to go over ASL, which is something I'm growing passionate about. And we're also going to go over a little bit of demonstrations, such as like what you show your kids, like what you do, or even with a baby doll, what you do with the baby or the toy. And we're also going to go over touch, which is basically your hand placement or the physical interactions you have with your kids. So our goals today are to discuss ways to become better communicators and also potentially demonstrate good ways of communication that our students could maybe take on and learn for themselves. So we're going to talk about me while you look at my cute kids. These are some pictures I've taken over the years. So one of my most common phrases is "I did not understand what you said." Auditory processing has always been something I've had a hard time with. Basically, my brain does not quite process what is being said to me. I started noticing how it affected my life a few years ago, and I started working on minimizing the impact. I'm learning ASL. I've learned how to teach a swim lesson through it, and I've also found ways to help better my life, but I want to go on to more than just that and start learning the ways about the community, and also working on ways to have a better connection with my kids. So because of my struggles with hearing, I started thinking about my students. This job gives us the opportunity to work with a variety of students, ranging from babies with limited communication skills to students that are just not auditory learners. I want to use nonverbal communication to not only better myself, but better my connection with my kids. So, why should teachers use nonverbal communication? It promotes language development and also helps with visual and mental imagery. It starts putting words, emotions, and actions all together. And it also helps when verbal communication is limited, such as when work gets loud or there's water in your ears or if your kid is submerged. And it also helps when there's distance between you and the person you're trying to communicate to. There are some people who benefit more from nonverbal communication, such as babies, since they have had a limited life experience and they have limited ways of communicating. Students with ADHD who often have auditory processing disorders, or students with autism who could often be nonverbal. And of course, there's always the kids that are hard of hearing and or deaf. So, what is ASL? ASL stands for American Sign Language. It is sadly not universal, which means that even though, like for example, both British Sign Language and American Sign Language are both based on English, but they are very, very different in the ways they sign. I believe it's very important to know the developmental timeline of our little ones. So I'm sure you guys have all heard baby sign. It is not a magical way that your baby could communicate. It just basically, your students learn language development at the same time, whether it's verbal or signing. So it breaks down to whichever one's easiest for them. If your baby has an easier time signing a sign, they may choose that over a harder word. But babies could start signing as soon as they start babbling. So, the language development timeline. I want you guys to remember our two focuses of today, which is touch and also visuals. So we're going to be going into eyesight, we're going to be going into their movements, And we're also going to be focusing on a little bit of verbal communication as it grows alongside nonverbal communication. So at 2 months old, you may hear your baby start making some noises, like cooing, but this is just them vocalizing their emotions. It does not have any meaning behind the words. And this is also when they start following objects with their eyes. At 4 months old, that's when they start copying movements and facial expressions. At least they start trying to. And they also start putting their sight and motor functions together, which means it's easier for them to grab things. At 6 months old, this is when they start responding to sounds with sounds. And this is also when their eyesight is more developed, which means they could see a full range of colors and also a more mature distance. And this is also when they start babbling. You may hear like baba, mama, dada without meaning, because they don't quite know what those words mean. It's just the easiest words for them to start saying. And this is around the earliest you could see your baby start signing. But at 6 months old, this is when they have a better understanding of concepts such as what no means, and this is when they copy both sounds and gestures. This is around the sign that most kids start signing. And 1 year old, this is when, if they're non-signing, they start signing back. Like little things we all communicate with, like no and bye. They also start having a change in their tone when they do communicate. They start copying words, and this is when they start coordinating properly, which is when you could get a more developed sign language out of your babies. But it's time. So at Watersafe, I'm sure we all have different teaching styles, and I don't necessarily think signing may fit with all of ours, but I would like to introduce you guys to it. So we're gonna start with our hands up. Everyone put your hands up. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna learn some signs today, and if you guys are good listeners, I have some stickers. And no signs are with your hands in the air. I just want to get your guys' attention. So we can put our hands down. We're gonna start with some basic signs, such as like our greetings. So first is hi. We're gonna put our fingers together, thumb in front. It goes from our forehead out to the side. So this is the most basic hello greeting. But there's also a more casual version, more to get someone's attention, such as hey, where you just flop your wrists in front of you. So hi, hey. Okay, next we'll go into please and thank you. They're very similar. Please is a closed fist. It goes on your chest. It goes in circles. I'm sorry is fist closed, same exact motion. So please, I'm sorry. One of my favorites is thank you. It goes from your chin, flat hand outward. Thank you, thank you. And lastly, we're gonna do bye. So open your hand and just close it. Open, goodbye. So these are all words I think we do a good job at getting across accurately when we are non-verbally communicating, but I think it's nice to know the way to communicate it in ASL. Now, a lot of kids do learn some sort of signs, whether it's from their parents or from potentially teachers. So the next little column we're going to go over is some signs that you may see from your kids. Firstly is bathroom, so we're going to start with a peace sign. Put your thumb in between, go down. This is a T, and when you shake it side to side, it means toilet. So potty, toilet. But if you do it with both hands, it's toy. So toilet or toy. Okay, so next, if your kid may need help, they're going to make a thumbs up. They put their hand under it, and they lift it up. So I need help. Awesome. Next is more. So put your hands together, bring them together, and about more. So often I do this with my kids, telling them how many more sets we have. Like we have 2 more. 2 more. And when you may see often, it's all done. I love when the little babies do it, especially when they first get in the pool. So hands up, move it side to side. All done. Okay. And next we'll do again. So flat hand. You take your other hand, you bring it into it. So again. Again. And lastly for this column, we're gonna do I love you. So pinky up, pointer finger up, thumb up. I love you. Okay, so for the last few signs I want to teach you, I want to go into more water-based signs, ones that we might use at swimming. So first is water. We're going to make a W in sign language. It's just pinky down, thumb down. It goes to our chin. So water. Next is swimming or swim. We do like a little breaststroke, like a head of breaststroke, which we don't teach here, but head of breaststroke. Okay, so now to a sign I use a lot, I do use eyes in and roll over a lot. Eyes in, you point from one eye, other eye, and then you put your fingers in a little hole. Eyes in. Another one is roll over, so pointer finger, you roll it away. I like to do these when our kids are eyes in and I would like them to roll over, so I often do it under the water, even one hand, to try to communicate to them that I do want them to roll over in the water. And we're gonna do our kick, but I want you guys to remember this. We're gonna come back to kicks later, okay? So flat hand with your non-dominant hand, your other hand, you hide your thumb and you bring it up. Yeah, to your hand. This is kick, like kicking your feet. I tell my kids, I want them to do kickers. Eyes in, kicks. Eyes in, kicks. Next is switch, so close this, you go towards you. So when my higher level kids, like if we're doing side breathing, when they're across the pool, I tell them to switch their hands or their arms with their power gloves. Let's switch. Okay, so we're gonna go into two different versions of fins. We're gonna go into our flippers and the shark fins because we use them both here. So fins like flippers, they're just up and down. Little fins. But fins like shark fins, you hide your thumb again and you just make a little point. So shark fin or fins like flippers. Often when I'm trying to communicate to my kids what they want to do for fun time, I ask them if they want to do a jump or a slide. So first is jump. You do a flat hand, you do a little legs, and you do a little jump. Jump, jump, jump. Next, you do two fingers, and you have one go down the slide. So I'm often like, do you want to jump or do you want to go down the slide? Okay. And I do want to introduce you to guys I want to introduce you guys to what is in sign language because I use it a lot. I think it's very important to ask your kids questions. So I often ask them what happens if something happens. Like, what do we do if we have to breathe? We roll over. So what is hands up and it just goes side to side. And breathing, one hand on top of the other. And you go out and in, like your lungs. So what do we do if we have to breathe? We roll over. Okay. So next we're gonna go on to ways we do use nonverbal communication at Watersafe already. I'm gonna give it a second. Sometimes I touch too fast. Okay. So a lot of what we already do is nonverbal, both in touch ways and in visual ways. So when we're at Watersafe, we do a lot of three and then an action, such as three sways, a lift, and an eyes in, or I like to do three touches and an action, like three taps on the head and then do a side breath, or three taps on the shoulders and then do an eyes in from a back flow. But we also have some visual ways we communicate with our kids, such as when I'm doing a submersion, I will make eye contact with them. I will let them watch my mouth not only close, but then go into the water to mirror to them that that's the action I want from them. And even when we're standing in front of our kids, we are non-verbally communicating that I would like them to go eyes into me instead of doing a rollover. So, I think nonverbal communication could be used with any age kid and should be used as soon as possible, but it should only be used as needed. It is something to emphasize a specific thing. When I am talking to my kid, I may say a lot in preparing them to go eyes in, but I will only sign eyes in to make it clear my intentions. But for this to be effective, you need to be repetitive and consistent as this helps strengthen your message. So personally, I try to use nonverbal communication with all my kids. I want to be consistent, not only for myself, but also for them. But at Watersafe, not all kids will be ideal for nonverbal communication. We have some kids that just won't look at us, some kids that require constant hands-on. But I think we could try to sneak in some sort of nonverbal communication with every child. But there are some kids that especially benefit, such as the ones that are more attentive. The kids who can't hear anything and are always asking what you're saying. The kids that already sign or the kids that are just eager learners are great for nonverbal communication. And now we're gonna talk about my favorite ways to non-verbally communicate. I love mirroring my kids. I watch the ways they interact with the water and the people around them, and I try to do it too, just to let them know that I could also try to speak their language and it's not one way. I try to actively listen to my kids. I try to show them that I care, and I try to remember what's going on in their life. And I also try to be attentive with my body position. I try to show them that I am actively listening to what they have to say and that I care about them. And lastly, I love smiling. If you haven't noticed, smiles are the best ways to non-verbally communicate. So I don't think Mr. David's here, but he's the only one that made it into my presentation. So Miss Charlie sent me this video of Mr. David. I believe his student is nonverbal, and he's just using a piece of paper to help her with her words. I'm sure a lot of you guys here have found out different ways to nonverbally communicate with your kids, as I think it's something that naturally develops as we teach. Remember when I was saying we were talking about kicks from earlier, and we're going to come back to it? We're coming back to kicks. So when I'm observing a lot of you guys, I notice that you guys like doing your kicks like flutter kicks. I think this is a great way to teach kicks, as it gives them more of a visual of something that we expect from them, and it's a little bit more accurate than this type of kicks. And another thing I've noticed is, well, power glove in ASL is power and then glove, which I don't think is the best for communicating, but I notice a lot of teachers, they just use their hand like this. And although that might not be the proper way in ASL to sign, I think that's okay. I think Watersafe ends up with a bunch of unique situations, and I love that that develops from us working here. And lastly, I want to leave you guys with the saying that we are always communicating. I want you guys to think about the ways you communicate and actually see if that is the way you want to non-verbally portray yourself to other people. I want to let you guys know you guys could reach out to me if you have questions about anything. If you guys would like to learn any signs that you think would be beneficial for your swim lessons, you could always come ask me, and I will make sure to share it to the group. And I also have our stickers now, so if you guys want to come up and get some stickers, you guys can get stickers. The stickers, I'll go over their signs really quickly. It's mainly I love you, which we learned earlier. I love you. Ooh. I love you a lot, which is a little complicated. And there's also friends. Yeah, I know. My fingers aren't used to that one yet. Okay. So thank you guys for your time, and I'm all done. Yeah. We'll also say like pride and stuff.
I love it.
Friends, I love you.
Oh, these are like cute stickers. Oh my goodness.
Sign that you use, that you find people use for power gloves.
Oh, the one that we, oh, this one.
Yeah.
This one's for power gloves.
And right before that, you said there was another sign. Oh, what would be the real sign for power gloves?
Okay, so power glove, but we use power gloves.
Okay, good.
I want to do more because I've been trying to do more with them because that's the age.
And also, I think your parents are going to appreciate it.
Well, they do because I always like start with like hi
Yeah.
and like when I end the class I always tell them thank you and tell them their name, like thank you for swimming today. So I think it'd be cool to do that because all the parents are like all about the Miss Rachel and all of their everything. So
I think that would be amazing.
I need a little cheat sheet. So that's so great.
Like the one Mr. David had, we could just laminate one and put it by the...
Could you do that? Could you make sure it gets done?
Yeah, I think that cheat sheet is cool because so many of those kids, especially the little ones, they know what certain things mean because they do visual sketches with their parents. Like I do that with my own kids. You see a visual something and you're like, okay, they understand that better. Yeah.
What you mean is a visual schedule check sheet. So they don't just see the word, you know.
Right, so like for example, like something I do at home is Like, we wake up, we eat our breakfast, we change clothes, we brush our teeth, we do this. We have pictures. Like, I have pictures for each thing. So if they can't remember, instead of me having to tell them 5 times, I say, look at the picture. What are you supposed to do?
Okay.
So you could tell them, yeah, we're going to do this. This is what it is.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. Like,
It might be
maybe
tricky
the one
trying
Mr.
to-
David has, so I
Yeah.
don't know if it's just
Might be
his
tricky
will
trying to figure out which ones are like, we're going to do a backflow, or we're going to
Yeah.
I think you could do it. I think you do it. We have very few tasks that we do in each parent talk class if you think about it. We do submersions, we do back floats, we do rollbacks, and we do kicking. I mean, that's pretty much what we do. So that's just, what, 4 or 5 things? And then you have the word, and then you have a sign, and then you have an actual photograph or just a drawing right next to it. So it's just how many columns? 5 things, 4 columns. You could do hello as one thing at the top, and you could say goodbye as the last thing at the bottom. And it might actually help our teachers who have a hard time remembering the order. Right. All they have to do is look at the picture. So it's twofold, parents and teachers.
I think that'll be good.